Welcome to Meet the Researchers. This is a special program at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff designed to share with the larger community the wonderful work underway here at the university in terms of research, innovations, and economic development. Today, I'm honored to have Dr. Anthony Austin join me, and we're going to be talking about some very exciting things that he's doing here at the university. And I'll tell you up front, he has done it in a very short amount of time. So Dr. Austin, I'd like to welcome you to Meet the Researchers and Grant Writers. And I'd like to start just by asking you to talk a little bit about yourself. I mean, your title here, and in talking about that, also talk about what motivated you to join us here at UAPB.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. So I'm an assistant professor of psychology, and I came to UAPB because I thought I could make a good impact. There was no lab here, and I wanted to bring a lab and expose our students to psychological research.
And you've done that.
And I've done that, yeah.
And that's really great. I visited your lab, and I remember when you didn't have a lab and when you were doing a little advocacy to get a lab. So you have it. What is the name of your lab, and what type of research do you carry out? Okay,
the lab is called the Human Psychophysiology Laboratory, and it's funded by the Title III program through the U.S. Department of Education. And the type of research that we do there is looking at stress invoked in the laboratory and how it affects the cardiovascular system.
Very good. I visited your lab and I noticed you had 2 students working with you. Are those students in your class?
Well, one of those students is in a couple of my classes. The other one is actually a biology major, but they both got research assistantship.
Okay. So you were able to award research assistantships?
Right. I got a small grant for a pilot study to get students involved in research. And this was funded by the Office of Ethnic Minority Affairs at the American Psychological Association. And so part of that grant is to study health disparities, but the bigger part is really to get students involved in research.
Very good. So how did you select the students? Did you advertise for them? Did someone recommend them?
I put out a call for applications, and I had several students apply, and I selected the best 2.
Very good. Well, tell me about the machinery that I saw in your lab. I mean, suppose I come in as a subject. What's going to happen to me?
Okay. Well, when you come into the laboratory, you'd be greeted by myself or one of the research assistants, and you'd come in and we'd ask you a bunch of questions about your health and demographics. You would complete some other questions, and then we'd hook you up, is what we call it.
Yeah, that's the part that I want you to talk about.
Yeah, so we'd hook you up to, it's called the Bio Pac System, and that's a very powerful system. It can do a lot of different things, measure a lot of different physiological systems, but we're focusing on the cardiovascular system. And so electrodes get put on the neck and the torso, and the arm, or the wrist and the ankle. And through that we can measure not only heart rate, but also more I guess, deeper measures of the cardiovascular system, like cardiac output, which is the amount of blood your heart beats per minute, and stroke volume, how much your heart beats per beat. And then we also attach a blood pressure cuff, and we can measure blood pressure.
Now, how do you generate the stress while I'm there?
Well, we make you prepare and deliver a speech on why you'd be the ideal candidate for your ideal job.
Oh my gosh.
And you're told that it's going to be video recorded, kind of like right now, and that it'll be later evaluated by a panel of judges who are experts in public speaking. Okay. And then following that, there's a mental arithmetic task in which they have to subtract 13 from the number 1,022 over and over again.
Okay.
If they get one wrong, they have to start over, and that's also recorded. And then at the end of the study, we tell them that we're deleting the video right now. We're not actually
very good. Very good.
Off.
Well, you know, I was really pleased to see our students participating in that process and hooking the people up and doing the survey. I mean, that's just really great, a great research experience for an undergraduate. So you have this as a pilot grant. Just tell me, if you will, in summary, why is this study important?
Okay, well, we're really looking at differences in black and white individuals in the cardiovascular response to stress. And this is important because it might explain differences in hypertension between blacks and whites. About a third of US adults have hypertension, but it disproportionately affects black individuals. And the way you respond to stress has been shown to predict future hypertension.
Okay.
And so maybe if we can identify individuals who have greater responses to stress now, we might be able to say to them to watch their blood pressure. But if we can identify a difference in blacks and whites, then this can inform what we know about differences in hypertension and potentially develop interventions to focus on the cardiovascular response to stress, or just to focus on ways people respond to stress.
That's very important research, and it could have a whole lot of implications for health consequences and the creation of wellness approaches. So we are really excited about it, looking forward to you getting additional funding to conduct your study on a larger population, which we will talk about. We're going to take a short break now, and we'll come back and talk a little more in detail about it and let the audience know how to contact you if they are interested in the research that you are doing and your findings.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Dr. Austin, we were just talking about the research that you have going on. I'd like to know what motivated you to focus on this particular area of stress and cardiovascular consequences.
Well, as an undergraduate, I got involved in cardiovascular research with a professor of mine, and he was doing something similar, and I thought it was fun to stress people out in the lab, and so I kind of.
So you enjoyed that?
I did a little bit.
Okay.
And it's fun to teach students to administer the stressors as well.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that aspect of health psychology, and I just kept going.
Okay. Let's talk about your PhD a few minutes.
Okay.
What did you do your research on, your dissertation, and where?
Okay, I got my PhD in experimental health psychology at Ohio University, and my dissertation was on the blood clotting response to stress.
Okay.
And in particular, looking at different methods of measuring that.
That's a very, very important area of research, especially when we talk about the cardiovascular system. I mean, if we have problems there, we can have serious problems. So I wish you'd talk a few minutes about the health consequences of your research, the economic consequences, and your contributions to the knowledge base on cardiovascular research.
Well, the health consequences, if we can identify individuals who have exaggerated responses to stress, those might be the people that might be most likely to develop heart disease, or if they already have heart disease, might be those most likely to have a heart attack when under stress. And economically, if we can teach people to reduce their stress or manage the way they respond to stress better, then we'd have fewer hospitalizations, be less burden on the healthcare system.
And the insurance system.
And the insurance system,
yes, okay. And so then the contribution to the knowledge base, because while we want our information to be helpful in terms of the quality of life of people, in terms of impacting the economy, as scholars, we also want to contribute to the knowledge base. So where do you see yourself going there?
Well, this particular study will add to the knowledge base regarding differences in blacks and whites in their responses to stress. There have been many studies that have used so-called racist stressors to evoke cardiovascular changes, and unsurprisingly, the cardiovascular responses are greater in blacks when there's a racist stressor than in whites. But there's been relatively few studies that have used neutral stressors, stressors that everybody might go through.
Okay.
And so this study is doing that, and will add to the knowledge base regarding just kind of baseline differences.
Okay. Where do you hope to get your next grant from, and how does it fit into your timetable?
Well, hopefully I'll find out in July if I get a grant from the American Psychological Foundation. It's called a visionary grant, and it's also a relatively small grant, but it's designed to make the current project more sustainable. For instance, more research assistants for another year, and putting a telephone in the laboratory. So the laboratory is still in its infancy, still growing. So I wouldn't be working out of my office for research so much. And then beyond that, I am planning to apply for an area R15 grant from the National Institutes of Health. And both the current grant that I have and the one that I applied for, part of those grants, they'd expect you to apply for a larger federal grant.
Yes. I remember being in Washington, and I met you there because you were there for some special training for research. Could you just briefly tell me about that and the impact of that on what you are now able to do? Okay,
that was the Minority Fellowship Program Psychology Summer Institute, MFP-Psy. And so the American Psychological Association sent me to DC for a week, and there we had workshops on grant writing and on writing publications, networking. Got to meet people from different NIH institutes, and I also have a mentor through that grant program.
That's great.
He's Roland Thorpe from Johns Hopkins University. So I met with him and fine-tuned the project, meeting with him again in June this year. So
I really like that. I like that Summer Institute because it gets you connected to the larger academic community. And also, it generated a mentor for you. And mentors are so important in building your research portfolio. I just really want to thank you for being here at UAPB and for starting from the start. I can remember when you came, you asked about research and labs, because that, I think, might have impacted your decision about whether you were going to join us. So you're here, you started. I just want to encourage you to continue, and we'll just wait to see the journal publications and all coming out of the research that you're doing here with our students. So as we end this conversation, I would like for you just to give a contact number in case someone in the audience would like more information on you and what you're doing here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff.
Sure. Feel free to contact me at 870-575-8189. And if you're a student who might be interested in working in the lab, there's one assistantship for the fall. It's $1,500 stipend. And applications are on the UAPB Psychology's website.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk again.
Okay,
All
thank you.
right, uh-huh.